If you're an 8-figure direct-to-consumer health and wellness and lifestyle brand and your revenue has stalled out in the last 6 to 12 months, then I want to show you the 2 things that we found in an audit recently that's causing this to happen across the niche, across the industry, and it has everything to do with how you acquire customers and what you use to actually retain them. If this sounds like something you're interested in, watch the next 10 minutes of this video and I'll walk you through what we found with our clients and the audits we've been doing recently for brands like yours. All right, so when it comes to 8-figure brands that have stalled out, we did an audit recently about 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording, and this brand has roughly 80% customer retention, but the revenue stalled out. And what I wanted to do is basically just walk you through their brand, their KPIs, the reality, show you some graphics, show you some information on what's actually causing this stall out and why these brands like this one and the ones maybe like yours are having such a tough time at certain levels because of these 2 things that I mentioned, how you acquire customers and what you do to retain them. So this brand, the niche they're in their non-toxic skincare home setting market, they self-manufacture 95% plus of their stuff. So they control supply chain margin. They have to buy ingredients and things of that nature, but they control a lot of the process. So they control a lot of the math. In 2025, they did just over 14 million. In 2024, they did about 12 million, so only 2 million up. And then the 2 years before that, they had their 50 to 60% year-over-year growth. And then they just smacked right into a wall. Their KPIs, at the time of this recording, they're paying about 40 to 50 bucks per customer. Their AOV is between 80 and $85. But the interesting part is, even though they have a high customer retention rate, that second purchase takes anywhere from 12 to 24 months to happen. Third purchase is 24 to 36 months. So second purchase is in year 2. Third purchase is in year 3. Now, with that being said, no D2C brand on the planet can scale their growth and their revenue when they have a 1 to 2 year payback period. Okay. Even though they have some margin on the front end with this AOV, they have about 50%, they still have unit economics and their COGS and what it costs to actually make the product, right? Not just buy the customer. So the margins are likely thin. Maybe 5, 10, 15% going actually into the brand's pocket that they can decide to use on getting more new customers or something of the like, right? So this right here is the main big red flag that we saw when the prospect or the brand was like, hey, we got like 80% customer retention. Why are we sold out? This is the first issue, right? The reality is even though after about a 2.5, 3 year mark, they have a great LTV on these customers, it takes 3 years to get that payback period, to get the capital into the brand and the revenue into the brand to reinvest in the marketing to keep this thing going. So they have a really long cycle of growth. And that is like the big major thing that we'd want to solve. Now, this is something I wanted to just show you an example of on a visual, is the payback timeline. So marketing gets the first purchase, and this brand is waiting 12 months for the second and 24 for the third. It's just taking way too long to actually get that capital back into the brand so we can keep growing and keep scaling this revenue up. Typically what you see, and these are for moderate to high performance brands, you're seeing a first purchase, within 3 months there's a second, within 6 there's a third, within 9 there's a 4. Depending on price range, AOV, industry niche, health, wellness, and lifestyle is typically that 369 model, and trying to get that as condensed and compressed as possible, getting them to one, spend more and buy more often. So when it comes to payback and it's just the timeline, this brand that we spoke to and we audited, it's taking way too long to get that money back in the business. Now, one caveat to this is if this type of brand has capital, they have outside investment, or they have money in the bank that they can use, sure, maybe they can wait 2 years to get to their top LTV, or they can wait a year for a second purchase, but that's if they have a big bucket of cash over here from an investment firm, from themselves, whatever it may be. So that's one caveat to this, to where it could work. But in their case, the way they presented it, the way we looked at it is they're self-funding. They're self-funding this whole process, and they need this payback to go from 12 to 24 down to 369. And that's essentially what we talked about when we were talking to them. Now, as you know, if you've run a D2C brand for a while, CAC to LTV ratios, basically the golden ratio for how much can I spend, how long do I have to wait to get that money back, and what can I buy a customer for, to where I'll actually be profitable. Right now, let's actually answer the question: what caused this 8-figure brand to stall out? Now, there's really 3 things that we found that are causing what we call that negative flywheel, that negative retention flywheel, and these play different percentage parts in this problem. So the first problem is weak subscription model. So their subscription offer is 10% plus free shipping. Now, that in general is a pretty general offer. A lot of brands do like a 5, 10, 15% off plus free shipping to get people into subscribing to products and get that retention revenue happening. Now, the thing that plays against this is if a customer is getting a monthly site-wide sale, which is number 2 here, if they're getting a monthly site-wide sale every 1 to 2 months, that's at 20% off. That looks like a heck of a better deal than the 10% plus free shipping. Even if free shipping makes the purchase less expensive, they're not going to do that math. They're going to go to the 20% every 1 to 2 months. They're going to make that first purchase on the 20%. And as we can see with their retention, they're going to wait 9 to 12 to 24 months to make that second purchase. And just, they're always doing a sale. They'll come back when I need it, when I want it, and we'll do percentage off. So not only do they have a week subscription model, but the monthly site-wide sale, they're attracting and keeping customers, if you want to call them that look for the bargain. They look for the deal as opposed to connecting to the brand emotionally, connecting to the mission, the product, and the actual outcomes that a star customer, as we would call it, would actually want from a product or a brand. The third thing is basically like the nail in the coffin is their acquisition across Meta, Google, and more basically is put in maintenance mode. So a key factor here, middle of 2025, Andromeda basically rolled out, did a hard rollout, and Meta shifted everything in Andromeda over to their new model, away from the King of the Hill paid ads model to Andromeda, which is more of a creative concept in each ad set type model. And because of this, even if prior to Andromeda, it looks like they were getting pretty good results, but it was still in maintenance mode. They're getting a 2, sometimes upwards of 3x ROAS, but there was really no new creative, no new product testing, no new offer testing. They found what was working and just put it on maintenance mode, and then did everything they could to push as many people through this monthly site-wide sale to generate revenue and create customers, if you want to call it that, at a very high velocity. So this little 3-step combo plus Andromeda has essentially created a perfect storm for this brand to stall out. Now, can you predict when the stall out is going to happen? No, you can't predict that. But what you can do is say, hey, if I see these 3 things happening and we haven't sold out yet, it is on the way. It's going to happen eventually, whether it be at 5 mil, 15, 50, or 100. These 3 things in a combination cause a problem for the brand because you run into this. You run into this negative flywheel where you have a monthly site-wide sale, your maintenance mode in Meta and Google, or it's in maintenance mode. Andromeda basically poured fuel in this fire and just ripped away the veil that was hiding this. And then you have a weak subscription offer that can't compete with the monthly site-wide sale. So you're not retaining customers. People are just waiting, like they shop at JCPenney or Kohl's. Those people that shop at those stores typically go in because there is a deal, not because they like the fabric or the clothing or the style. They just know if they go in the door, they're going to save 10, 20, 30% off. And that's their initial motive to buy, is to go in and do that. They decide if they like the clothes later. And that type of model can work when it comes to scaling D2C ecom, but you cannot ever in this model go on maintenance mode with Meta and Google or just acquisition in general, because you have to out purchase or out acquire customers over your churn. So there's really, with that being said, there's 2 models that we typically look at and we see inside of D2C brands. And this model for this client, they are running the scale the sale model. So they essentially prioritize churning through customers to hit bigger numbers. So they have to get new customers to grow, as opposed to scale the relationship, which is to hyper focus on your star customers and grow by making them worth more. So one is we're going to churn and get as much money out of somebody as we possibly can while risking and potentially ruining the relationship so they churn out. And then you have the scale the relationship, which is we have the star customers. We know what they like to buy on the entry point. We know what they like to buy over time and what combo of things they like to buy. And we nurture that relationship over time so that they buy more often and they spend more when they do. So these 2 can overlap in some cases, but typically when you have a break, you can separate these out. Scale the sale is what this brand's running. Scale the relationship is essentially how we like to run our clients' models. Now, the reality of this, I'll go through each of these and we can dig into them a little more. But the reality is the scale to sale does work. A lot of brands have used it. A lot of the big brands you see online right now that are advertising on TV and just they're doing $100 million valuations and exits and things like that. A lot of them do the scale to sale model, but the caveat to that is you have to have capital to fill the gap between the second, third, and fourth purchase. If you don't have the capital to buy the customers to out-purchase the churn, then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have dead periods in your growth, and it's going to feel like nothing's happening. You plateau or you shrink because you're just not getting enough customers. Now, on the scale of the relationship side, what you can do is you can have, 50, 60, 70% fewer customers, but because they buy more often and they spend more when they do, you can have fewer customers to reach the same revenue targets, and you can rely less and put less stock and anxiety and just that grow mentality into acquisition, because you have a solid foundation. You have a solid set of customers that are coming back every 3, 6, 9 months, and they're buying over and over and over on repeat. Now, the main trigger here between the two, again, one, scale the sales more like the Kohl's, JCPenney, bargain bin, percentage off shoppers. The scale the relationship type of customer is the one that is tied to your brand. They like your mission. They use your products and they believe in what you believe in, and they align with your values and your principles as a brand. And the price is secondary. The price is what it is. And when you do, because you can offer sales in the scale the relationship model, but it's at a less frequency, a lower frequency, and your customers aren't really buying because there's a sale. They say, thanks for the discount, but I would have bought anyway, in many cases. So those are the two type of models we typically see that you essentially choose from. So if you're a brand that's been dealing with this issue, you're dealing with the monthly site-wide sale, the maintenance mode on your acquisition, and a weekly subscription model, and Andromeda has just poured fuel on the fire, and you have stalled out, plateaued, or just don't know why things are not growing 20, 30, 40, 100% year over year anymore, then this is likely the case. And one of these, if not all of these issues, are probably happening inside of your brand, and you don't even realize it. So if that's the case, go ahead and give a like to this video. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, get more videos like this. And you'll find in the description below, you can book a call with myself, Chris, one of the co-founders here at 3 Beacon Marketing, and we can talk through and audit your brand and see where you're stuck.